Hello. Hang on one
Hello.
sec. Hi, just give me a sec.
Okay, I'll wait. Okay.
There we go.
So is this mine or yours?
Okay.
Awesome.
Hi. I think this is yours.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay.
Hi. How you going?
Uh, I'm great. Good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, nice to see you too. We did it.
Oh, you did it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is great. Okay, cool. Oh, let's go screen. Um, Full screen. There you go. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jim. And sorry for having delayed it a couple of times. Well,
That's okay.
yeah. Well, let's just jump into it. Everybody, we got Jem Fuller here today. Um, I have been following you for some time, on the socials, and you do quite some great work and some important work. Which just well, I would say just it inspires me a lot. And Yeah. Um, I think I just want to start asking you if you want to like jump into and share your story. Like in
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
yeah, yeah, go for
Yeah.
it.
Is there any part in particular that you want to hear? I mean, I'm 53 years old, so there's 53 years of story, and some of your listeners might get bored if I go into too much detail. So, do you want me to just pull out some key moments of the story, or?
You could do that, but I also always love to kind of hear like where people come from, where are they like born, what how did they like find themselves being as a child, as a kid and kind of growing to the teenager and then evolve to as adult. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, you
sure.
can go with yeah, what you're comfortable with and what makes sense to you.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Haarlem in the Netherlands, but my parents are not Dutch. My father was from England, and my mother was from Australia, going back, five or six generations back to Scotland and Ireland. So my ancestry is, kind of England, Scotland, Ireland. But I was born in the Netherlands, and then we lived in England. And then when I was about one, we moved to Australia, and we moved to, like a suburb in the city, so very standard, like an outer suburb in Melbourne. And my childhood was, kind of middle class,
Mhm.
just normal suburban Australian upbringing. But there's the key moments as a child, and so the kind of emotional, psychological experience was I was a very sensitive boy, and my father was post World War II, typical hard, like
Yeah.
to be a man, you must don't cry and toughen up and be hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was interesting for me, and so I felt I loved my dad, but I felt very alienated from him as well. I didn't, I rebelled. So through my teenage years, I ended up rebelling and, piercing my ears and cutting a mohawk and becoming like a bit of a punk when I was a teenager. And
Mm.
as soon as I did finish high school, but in my last year of high school, my best friend died on his motorbike. And so I experienced grief of someone very close to me when I was 18 years old. And
Okay.
uh, and and so 6 months later, when I finished school, I just ran away as far as I could. I moved to the other side of the world. I didn't want to. I became very anti-establishment. I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. I didn't want to go to
Yeah.
university and wear a suit and a tie. And I felt like capitalism kind of sold us into this
Mm.
rat in the wheel thing. You know what I mean? By like a
Yeah.
rat
Yeah.
running in a
Yeah.
wheel,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be a
That's the
part of that.
world too. Sorry.
Yeah. So I was living in squats and I was trying to save money to always travel as far off the beaten track as I could. I became addicted to traveling, and traveling in foreign, far off countries. So through Asia and the Middle East and places like this. And, from a very young age, and so this is back in the early 90s. I was piercing my lips and stretching my ear piercings and getting tattoos
Oh,
everywhere. And this was back in the day when no one else was really doing it.
right.
And so, yeah, so that was through my 20s, right through my 20s into my early 30s. I was very, very alternative and I didn't want to be a part of the system. And then
Mm-hmm.
in my early 30s, I'd fallen in love and we had children. And when I first had children, when I first became a father, I was like, wow, I got to support these kids. I need to feed these little people, right? And put a roof over their head. So I had to go and get a proper job for the first time. Up until then, I'd done every type of job. I was a tattooist, a fire dancer, a volunteer in third world countries, a kindergarten teacher in Taiwan. I was a motorcycle courier. I was a
Wow.
laborer. I've done all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I became a father, I felt like I needed a proper job. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
got a job
Yeah.
with an international travel company, and I ended up climbing the corporate ladder and doing that whole thing. I put on a shirt and tie and um, you know, played that corporate game, which was really weird for me. It
Mm-hmm.
was so strange to be doing it, but I did it, and I did it reasonably well, and ended up as a senior leader with a lot of staff, and then I'll dot point now the story.
Mm-hmm.
So then.
Okay.
In my early 40s, I was married and I had the house and the white picket fence and the two children and the corporate job and everything. But actually, I was quite lost from my own core values on the inside, and ended up having the midlife crisis. Um, for me, it was a bit of a midlife awakening. But I
Mm-hmm.
lost my job, lost my marriage, lost my house, lost all my stuff except for my children. I went straight into 50-50
Oh,
shared care with my children.
yeah.
And that's when I discovered coaching and the whole coaching modality and human behavioral profiling and understanding the matrix, the code of human behavior, and then how to apply that to leadership. And so that was
Mm.
12 years ago. And now my leadership coaching consultancy is 12 years old. And I coach senior leaders across the public and the private and the not-for-profit sectors, and I now run international retreats and write books and do online courses and all that kind of fun stuff. So there you go. There's a snapshot for you, Meta.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You are really calm and collected in your like sharing, like, and that's like really something I've also noticed on your some of the social on the Instagram where I was seeing videos with you. You're very which is, I mean, yeah, yeah, it's the calming. So so I don't know, it's just really nice to listen to.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's lovely. Thank you.
Um. Yeah. I think I it's where am I going to start? Because I mean, when I think like how do you? I think something I would like to start with, I guess, is what? How do you come into or like where is kind of your road into doing like courses and like the things I guess that's on your website now. Like what's the yeah, how did you get into that? Or like
Well, coaching, I
what's
mean,
the
coaching
concept?
as a
Yeah.
modality, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was employed as a senior leader, my manager, my boss,
Right.
hired an external coach to come in and do a weekend of of content with us, leadership content around human behavior and all sorts of things. And I loved it. I just really, really loved it. And I thought that's what I want to do. And then a couple of months later, I lost my job.
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, well, now's the time. So I went and studied coaching and human behavioral profiling and neuro linguistic programming, all the different modalities that coaches use. And yeah, and I studied it and jumped in the deep end. You know, I had two kids to feed, um, and I had to make it work. So I haven't done another job since then. But at the time, you know, when I lost my job, I just to put myself through school. I just went and got a cleaning job and also a job making coffees in my local town. So I went from being a corporate leader, earning a lot of money, to
Yeah.
going and scrubbing toilets and cleaning houses and making coffees, you know, and it was good. It was a really beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I needed to be humbled. I think I was still humble, but it was, you know, I was prepared to do anything. I would do anything to follow my dream, to follow my heart, and what I felt like was my calling. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's, I love that you share that also because it's reminding me that, I mean, now I'm a lot younger. I'm 23. And a year after I finished high school, I went to do a cleaning job, and it's so, I think for me at that time, I remember my brother asked me like, "So now you're learning to clean?" And I was quite upset about it because I was like, "What kind of question is that?" Because I
yeah,
don't know, I just found it rude at that point. So like, I don't know, I'm someone who like, I don't know, I think a lot about like what I'm doing, and I put a lot of like, I'm like, I'm not just cleaning, I'm also like, and I was explaining that out right now, but kind of like you said that I feel like there's such a yeah, I don't know, a label or just I mean sometimes you just put yourself to do whatever you gotta do
yeah,
to yeah, make things work, right.
yeah,
uh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, like I didn't have a plan
Oh,
when I was 23. I didn't have a plan. You know,
right.
I was just following each each year, you know. I mean, when I was in high school, I really wanted to be an actor,
Yeah,
and then I got into drama school, and then I got kicked out of there, and then I was trying to get work as an actor, and I was getting a bit of work here and there, and but then I fell in love with India, and I just wanted to always be in India, so I was just always saving money to get to India or just getting back to India to travel around this amazing country.
right,
And you know, and then I'd be in India and I'd hear about Tibet and I want to go to Tibet or Pakistan or somewhere else in the world, you know, and I'd just follow that. And then
right,
I'd run out of money and then someone would tell me, oh, you can earn money teaching English in Taiwan. So I'd go there and, you know, and that was for years and years and years, you
hmm,
know, um, and then fell in love and then had kids. So I'm not saying this is the best way to live your life, right?
right, right.
My sons are 20 years old and 18 years old,
Mm,
and they are different to me. They want direction now. They want to work hard now so that they can get ahead financially and have some security in life, which is great because I
right,
didn't have security in life until later on, you know.
yeah,
And life is still insecure. You know, we don't know what's coming.
yeah,
So I'm not suggesting that the way that I did things is the right way to do it, but if
mm,
it's the way that you're doing it, then it's the way you're meant to be doing it, apparently, right? Because you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now.
yeah,
You are exactly the version of yourself that you should be right now at the age of 23, the way you are, what you know, what you don't know, you know, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Everything's exactly the way it's meant to be. You know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're not the future
yeah,
version of yourself yet. Like one day you'll be that future version of you, but right now you should be just you. And so when someone says, you know, you shouldn't be doing that or you shouldn't be like this or that, you know, yeah, I tend to not listen to them too much.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I found myself like, especially the first year after high school, that it's like a lot of questioning, which is just quite natural. Also, I had my therapist, which I still have, like it's very natural for everybody who's just come out of
Yeah.
what just come out of high school. Um, yeah, just kind of take it that one step at a time. And I didn't either have like a rush. Um, I think I've always been someone who's kind of like I've had, looked up to soccer players and other kind of people in the world and just always like aspired to like how do I do that? Also because I haven't always had the easiest time with school, so I was like so I've been like questioning a lot of things. But I I find it really interesting that also when I found out that you have these conferences which you just mentioned in India. And I was wondering how come you choose India as a place for that?
Well,
Yeah,
I chose Nepal first because
right,
I've always loved the outdoors.
right.
I love the
Oh,
nature, and and I wanted to go to Nepal because it's got Mount Everest and it's got the tallest mountain in the
oh,
world. So
yeah.
Nepal is like this kingdom, this high altitude kingdom, and it was I don't know. I always wanted to go to Nepal, so I went to Nepal and loved it. And then
Mm,
while I was there, some friends were going down into India, and I thought, oh, I'll go down into India and have a look. And I went down into India and spent a few months there and fell in love with it.
wow. Love that. And how come I guess then how does it work out for you when you put that like um the worksheet together of what it's gonna look like for people that you work with there and like there? Because I always like yeah, I don't know, yeah, I think that's the question.
Yeah.
How does it
Well, I
work?
mean, look, it's interesting how, parts of our life
Thank
end
you.
up all fitting
Yeah,
together like a puzzle, And so
yeah.
when I was in India back in the 90s, I met a family up in the Himalayan mountains,
Mm,
and I lived with them and became
yeah.
very close with them, and they became my Himalayan family, and
Mm,
they're still my family to this day. And I had a feeling that I was going to take people there. And
mm,
so now today it's our primary retreat that we run. My partner Talia and I run a retreat there every year up into the Himalayan mountains, which
yeah.
is a beautiful program on self-leadership
Mm,
and creating a foundation of inner peace within you so that no matter what's going on in life around you, that you still have this foundation of inner peace and fulfillment and contentment. And so
yeah.
this is the
It's
program
so
that we've built
important.
out over all of these years. And so now we
Mm,
take leaders and people, people, but usually leaders from the West,
yeah,
and we take them over to India and give them an amazing transformational experience.
I love that. I guess it's also like yeah, I was like you must have someone that you do that with or yeah do collaborate in doing that because that must be a lot of work to like put together and then like having a group and like
Yeah, yeah, there's work involved, but
posting that.
yeah,
Yeah,
there is work involved, but it's not overwhelming. It's that the hardest part is getting people to sign up and come because it's a big deal, and yeah, people have a lot of excuses why they don't, they can't um, have the time, or they can't afford the money, or the people have excuses. But anyway, look, it's, actually putting together the program, I enjoy doing it. I worked for 8 years in a travel company, so
mm,
putting together travel logistics is easy for me.
yeah,
And I have all of the contacts on the ground over there. I've got a relationship with this family that's almost 30 years old now, my relationship with them. So it's, yeah, look, I find it easy.
so that comes yeah I can see that that comes more really
Yeah.
natural. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sure. I want to talk more about I haven't talked about that, but your book. Because I have been yeah, just looking at that all the time and just wanting to see that book more here in Europe too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
we haven't got it translated yet, but it's available. I've had people from Europe email me and say thank you for writing the book. I actually had
yeah,
because the book was written for men, but it's a lot of women read the book and really love it. I had a woman
right.
in Germany, and she emailed me and she said thank you for writing this book because it's helping me in the way that I raise my sons. So she's raising her two sons, and she got a lot of help to how to raise them from this book. So that was very heartwarming.
Mhm. Yeah, that must be just yeah, when you get emails from people who's have some kind of bad information from it. What's if you were to um break the book a little bit down, what would you say it's about for people listening?
How to communicate more consciously. So just how to be more effective in your communication, you know.
Right.
And I mean, it's so important. And I mean, the first reason
Yeah,
it's important is that relationships, our relationships are actually the most important thing in life. You
yeah.
know, it doesn't matter how successful you are in business,
Mm,
the quality of your life, like how good is your life, is directly correlated to the quality of your relationships.
yeah.
So, you can have a successful business and you can be traveling around the world and you can all of these things. But if your
Mm,
relationships are not very good, then your experience of life is not very good.
mm,
And so our relationships are really, really important. And the quality of our relationships is really dependent on our communication with each other. Because
mm.
that's what creates the relationship is the
Yeah,
communication, the understanding,
yeah.
it's the coming togetherness. So this book helps people communicate more effectively in relationship, but also with yourself. The
Right.
quality of communication with yourself. What's your internal dialogue like?
Mm,
Because if your internal self-talk is not good, then
right.
your experience of life is not good, right?
Yes.
So it
Yeah.
helps people improve their awareness and the quality of their internal dialogue as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that that quote reminds me a lot about Esther Perel. You know,
Sorry, what was that?
that quote, you said the quality of your relationships that determine the quality of your life, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Um,
this comes from there's a study called the Harvard Study on Adult Development, and
okay.
it's been going for 90 years or something, this piece of
Oh
research.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I've heard about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you can look it up online, the Harvard Study on Adult Development and or the Harvard Study on human happiness. And it's been
Okay.
going for a long, long time. And one of the resounding um, understandings that's come out of this research is exactly that. The quality of your relationships is directly correlated to the quality of your life.
Mm.
So I didn't just make it up.
No. I've also heard I've read some of Esther Perel, big fan of her work too. Often
Yeah,
heard her say that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, it is
yeah,
really I've thought a lot about that often. Like, yeah, that's yeah, just what you said. It's how am I able to communicate with family, with friends, it's all of that. That's like if there's something that's bugging me, like marrying or stress from a relationship, then it most likely will feel stressful or like impact your life in some way. Um, and
yeah.
that's the
You can even start by um, writing down a list of the people who are the most important people to you, and then just going to them one by one and saying to them, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you, you are so important to me, and I love you, and I want to get better and better at communicating with you because I think our communication is really important for our relationship. So I just want to let you know that I'm always going to be working on my communication with you because I love you so much. That's
Mm,
it. Just
yeah.
start by saying that, right?
Mm,
And they'll be like, oh, that's so lovely, right? So you just make a start by saying that. You don't need to communicate anything else. Just tell them that you love them and tell them that you value the relationship and that you want to always be working on your communication with them because
mm,
of that, right? It's a great place to start. And then you're starting to create the foundation in the relationship that is open to communication. You know, when you tell someone that you love them and you value them and you want to you always want to try and look after the relationship and that you always want to try and communicate well with them. When you set that up as the foundation,
right.
then 2 months later, when there's a misunderstanding and or there's a miscommunication, because you've already created the foundation where you've said to them that you want to get better at communicating, you can go to them and say, hey, I want to try and communicate with you because I love you, right? And you can try to communicate with them and they'll be more empathetic, they'll be more compassionate to what you're trying to do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I love that. Thanks for saying that. A really good one. I I was thinking about um is it you mentioned as like in the start when we started the conversation um that that you were sensitive of as a kid. Is that something that you were aware of as a kid, or is it something that's come more in your teenager or as adult? Because I think for myself, probably it's come as something I became more aware of when I was in high school and I more so experienced, I think, high school pressure or just like moving to another city and that kind of stress and adolescence that wow, I can feel there's like a difference between me and my peers or how I'm maybe I don't know, calibrate for different things or I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the older we get,
Yeah,
there's more
yeah,
opportunity for reflection
yeah,
and understanding.
yeah,
And when I was really little, so when I was, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old,
mm,
I didn't know any different. I thought I was just a boy. I didn't realize I was a sensitive boy on average.
right,
But I did realize that I started to feel like it wasn't okay for me to cry or to be sensitive because my
mm,
dad would get angry with me when I would cry, you
mm,
know. So I thought, well, is there something what's like I used to think why are you getting angry with me for crying, you know? I
yeah,
remember thinking that, like what I'm trying to figure it out, but I couldn't figure it out. And then
yeah,
when I was a teenager, I wasn't one of the kind of tough teenage boys who
mm,
was fighting and, mucking around like this. I enjoyed hanging out with the girls more,
right,
you know. And that was good for me because I had lots of girlfriends, you know. But I was
yeah,
also very sensitive as a teenage boy too. So I wasn't like this macho, guy who was having sex with all the girls. I was more sensitive, like wanting to be friends with them,
right,
you know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and and so and then when I was 18, I was gone anyway. So I left my peer group when I was 18, and then I could just meet, different types of people around the world and kind of gravitate towards my type of people, you know.
yeah.
So I didn't really, I haven't stayed in touch with anyone from high school. I
Okay,
don't have any friends from high school. I left and haven't
right,
and never looked back, you know.
okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, your energy really I I lost my dad in 2018 and sometimes I come across people I'm like they're these guys are that woman, their energy really reminds me of my dad's energy. And my dad was a really calm guy, a really sensitive guy. He was really good at like having empathetic, like the conversations that you would probably often more see women have. He would
Yeah.
like often the guys have that. And
Yeah.
I always looked a lot up to that, but I also kind of felt sometimes a weird distance, like it was, I don't
Uh-huh.
know, I don't know what
Yeah.
that is. That's something I'm still trying to like, what was it there? I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's so that's always like interesting when I meet people or interact with people. It's just because it's like it's kind of seeing that mirror kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
I was um thinking about really curious about the I wrote something down about neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah.
How do you get into that and what is that about? Not thought about that before.
Neuro-linguistic programming is,
Yeah.
well, it was developed as a therapy, but it's an understanding of how the mind works, and it was developed by two different guys that studied some of the leading therapists through the 80s and the 90s, and they studied a man called Erickson, who kind of popularized hypnotherapy from hypnotism, and he turned it into hypnotherapy. They studied the work of a woman called Virginia Satir, and because she was very successful with her as a therapist as well. So they studied a handful of different therapists to
Mhm.
understand how are they being effective in terms of helping people create change with their
Mhm.
mental health. And neuro-linguistic programming quite literally just means neuro is the neurology of the
Right.
brain,
Yeah.
linguistic meaning language,
Mm.
and programming. So we actually program our meta framework of reality. So what is the framework within which we experience reality? And we
Mm.
formulate that through our life, through beliefs and biases and lenses and ideas, framework that we adopt, that are imposed upon us or that we just make up. And some of our beliefs are widely shared by lots of different people, and some of our beliefs are very unique to us. But all of these beliefs form this kind of meta framework of how we experience reality. And sometimes our beliefs are limiting or
Mm.
unhealthy.
Mm.
So you might have a belief in the background somewhere, a subconscious belief that you're not enough, that you're not good enough. And
Yeah.
if you have a belief that you're not good enough, then all of the evidence around you, all the information around you in terms of what you experience on a day-to-day basis, you make that fit into your framework of beliefs, of reality. So you make it fit into I'm not good enough,
Mm.
which then can play out in all sorts of unhealthy ways. Or
Yeah.
you might have a belief that people are nasty and you can't trust anyone and everybody's out to get you. If you have a belief that that's reality, then you will make all of the evidence around you match that belief.
Yeah. Mm.
You'll make all the information match that. So your experience of life, you become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you
Mm.
believe that life is tough, you experience a tough life. If you believe it's a small world and there's people keep bumping into each other, then that's your experience. If you believe that people are generally lovely and nice, but just maybe a little bit shy, then you meet nice people, right? So our framework of reality very much, what we perceive is what we project, and what we project is what we perceive. So we have this relationship with quote unquote reality around us that is made up of this framework. And neuro linguistic programming just dives deeply into that understanding. And we can start to consciously have something to say about our version of reality due to the beliefs that we formulate and the beliefs that we choose to hold on to or not.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Awesome. That's yeah, that's my thing. Thanks for sharing that too. I think let's round it off here. There's 4 minutes left. I have to zoom it like on 40 minutes. So that's why I mentioned 4 minutes. Yeah. I guess a great thing would to end the conversation out on would be to let people know where to find the book, where to find your book, and yeah, where to find your work in general too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You can find the book on Amazon. Just jump onto Amazon and it's The
Um,
Art of Conscious Communication for Thoughtful Men. And Jem Fuller, just Jemfuller. And you can find my work on jemfuller.com. You
yeah.
can follow me on Instagram on Jem Fuller. You can find me on LinkedIn on Jem Fuller. So it's all
Mm,
pretty consistent.
yep.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, and you can look at our Himalaya retreat as well. When you go onto the
oh yeah.
jemfuller.com, you just go to retreats and then click on the Himalaya retreat, and it takes you to a whole beautiful landing page, and you can read all about it there.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And the book is not only for men.
What's that? Sorry?
And the book is not only for men. I think.
Yes, no, it's not. It's not. It's for everybody, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jem, for taking
Yeah.
out time on your day and coming on the podcast here, Dutch podcast. Yeah, that's been really great. Been learning a lot. It's fun. Um, thanks for yeah,
Thanks for having me on your show, Meta. And yeah, and I wish you and your listeners all the best.
thank you. All the best to you too. We'll talk, let you know when this one is up.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, bye.